Greetings, Doc John here, and I am the Entreprofessor. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of a new simulator that's specifically created and targeting entrepreneurship. It's called Startup Wars. It's by OpenForge IO, and I recently had an opportunity to sit down and have a founder discussion with the founder of OpenForge and the creator of Startup Wars, Jedi Weller. If you haven't had a chance to watch that video, really interesting founder story and a really interesting view of the Startup Wars simulator. In fact, I'm going to use the demo that Jedi did in that video as part of this review. So you'll have a chance to look at it and even hear directly from him as he presents it. So as you know, if you've listened to my channel at all, I really like to use simulators whenever I am teaching. I find it's just a great way for students to really find out what's happening in a particular space, what might happen as they try something they maybe don't have a lot of experience with. First, let me just say, I think it is a great simulator in the sense that it is built specifically for entrepreneurship or about entrepreneurship. Lots of business kind of general simulators talk about entrepreneurship or applications in entrepreneurship, but this one really truly is an entrepreneurship simulator. There are some out there. I mentioned the Food Truck Challenge in the past that has a little bit of that element to it, but this one really gets to the experience of a startup founder who's trying to outrun the burn rate, trying to get funding, trying to do all the things to get a business off the ground, to get customers, to generate revenue before they run out of capital. And everything from employees to advertising, investing, how do you set everything up? Really good examples of that. So I think that's something that is really a strong plus for this platform. The other thing I really like about Startup Wars is the gameplay. It definitely does not feel like a static simulator the way a lot of the ones on the market are today, where it's probably some kind of spreadsheet behind it with a basic algorithm and a few different levers. This one definitely feels more like an app that you play on your phone or a video game. It has more of that interactive feel. It's visually appealing. It's just got some really interesting features. The third thing I really, really like about it is just the way it has real clear learning principles and objectives behind the algorithm for the system, so that as founders are making decisions and making trade-offs, they are experiencing what are likely results of those trade-offs. And some of them can be very positive. They can see the business start to grow, and some of them can be somewhat catastrophic and can push them very quickly towards bankruptcy. So I really like that. It really gives the entrepreneur or emerging entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur the ability to experience failure and to see if they have the grit to power through and the resilience to get back up and just to keep on going with it. So some really great features. So I'm going to just share now the demo of the application so you can see what it looks like. You're going to hear directly from Jedi. And then after that, I will tell you some of the things that I think will be good improvements for the future that I know that the founder and the organization is considering as part of their roadmap. So let's hear from Jedi and let's see a demo of Startup Wars.
So there's two different parts to Startup Wars, right? The first part is the student side, which I'm going to show you right now, and then the second part is the teacher side, the faculty side, right? So on the student side, we wanted to come at it from a mobile-first mentality, right? Our end goal is to hit the broad consumer market of people who want to learn entrepreneurship, right? To start out, we're starting with the Education Institute because it takes a lot to teach, right? And we're not teachers ourselves. So the education version allows the professors like yourself, right, to really teach the foundations of business and then let the students play it, right? So we made it a little very gamey, right? We want the students to enjoy it. We want it to be like, targeted towards the 18 to 25 demographic, right? And when we actually click log in, and I'm going to skip that flow for our demo purposes, right? We get to the first screen, which is creating your business plan, all right? Nice. So in this particular company, the company type is a dating company, like a Tinder, Bumble, right? That kind of thing. So what should we call our dating company? Force of nature go. I love it. All right, we got to pick ourselves a logo here, right? And then we got to pick our avatar, right? So Yvette, she's awesome. All right, fantastic. So the first couple of things that the player chooses are more just for fun, right? Then they actually get into decision making, okay? So one of the things about Startup Wars is that there's no right or wrong answer in Startup Wars or in business, right? There's pros and cons, there's consequences and rewards, but there's no right and wrong answer. So one of the first decisions the player has to make is which city they want to incorporate in, right? For instance, do I want to incorporate in Philadelphia or do I want to incorporate in New York, right? Then we get into picking the company type, right? So whether you're LLC or a C corporation, we're also working on adding benefit corporation status as well. Once the student creates their business plan, right, which is just very simplified, then they're actually going to get into the core gameplay, right? And this is the exciting part, right? So part of the core gameplay is, again, to have the student be there as the founder. So you selected Yvette here as the founder. So this is you, right? And you're here, you're in it, right? You're in your office. In this particular example, we have the player starting out in a co-working space, right? And what do you do on day one? One of the things that we found from all of our, all the tests that we've done with students is that when we ask the question, like, all right, if you start a business tomorrow, what does day one look like? Like, what do you actually do, right? Because everyone thinks about, okay, well, I got to do sales, right? I got to do marketing, and I got to build a product, right? Okay, but those are very general. Like, what are the actual physical steps you take? So that's in the gameplay here. So what we do is we have 3 phases. We have ready, set, and go. Okay. On the ready phase, we select what our objectives, our goals are for that week. Okay. So do we want to focus on research first? We want to research our competitors. Do we want to, network and maybe attend a college party, right? Do we want to set up our domain hosting? Do we want to set up our articles of incorporation, right? The player, the student has many different options here, right? And again, no right or wrong answer, but they need to decide based on what they think and their business strategy, right? What they want to work on first. So I'm just going to pick a couple of quick things here. If we expand the details here, we can see that everything takes time, right? And like this research competitors is going to take me essentially 32 hours. So that's a whole week right there, So like let's say we do want to really tackle a lot, just more than we could possibly chew, right? Yeah. Well, we can't do it alone, right? So we can hire more employees. We can hire a team. We go to Laura Walters, our little recruiter here, right? She's gonna give us a little tutorial. I'm gonna skip through that. And we can find different people who are applying to work at our company, right? Nice. Every person you can see here has their own pros and cons, right? They have design skills, dev skills, marketing skills. Leroy Devkins here, he's a developer, right? So his dev skills are really high. He's also $22 an hour, right? So, the player has to now make some financial decisions and skill set decisions to determine who I want to hire, right? And, why I want to hire them. I'm going to pick Michael here, okay? I'm going to hire him. Awesome. Right. And we're going to go back to our desk. All right, beautiful. So now we got Michael here. He likes to dress up in the hoodie. So each character, has like a little bit of their own. And there's like different animations and stuff, again, to make it fun, right? So the characters do different things along gameplay. That's not part of the educational value. That's just part of making this fun. There's no reason that education should be boring. It should, it can be interactive, right? Yeah. And when we take a look at like our competitive landscape as a company, right? A lot of the competitors, actually all the competitors out there, like they're essentially Excel sheets on the web. So, all right, so we hired 2 employees. So let's go now and get to assign work for our team, right? So we have the founder, and then we have one of the employees. So now we got to figure out what they're actually doing. We're going to go through here, and we're going to start actually assigning out tasks, right? Based upon the goals that we assigned. So we can see here we have some research, tasks that are coming up here, and we can see that it says Jedi estimated this is going to take 2 days, and it's going to be +1 from my design skill, right? So this means that this is a design task, and this particular character, like myself, I'm not a designer. So while I could do it, right, I'm not as skilled as someone else in it. So if I had a different employee, and again, if I hired strategically, then that different employee is going to be able to get the same amount of work done in half the time, right? Yeah. Great. So it gives the player kind of like the ability. So we're going to assign some work to Michael too, right? And it doesn't have to be a full week. Again, this is part of the founder experience, right? how much time do I have to assign my teams to? Well, we hired these as full-time employees, right? And as you and I know, full-time employee, if you assign them to 12 hours or you assign them to 40 or 80 hours, you're still paying them. Yeah. We have it called the morale mechanic, right? And so we're building that out right now. We can see like what their morale is.
Nice.
Yeah. So the thought is, let's say you have a big deadline coming up and you want your team to, push a little harder for like a week or two. All right, well, you can do that. The morale is going to go down a little bit, but overall, you'll be safe. But if you ask them to work 80 hours a week for like 6 months straight, well, they're probably going to quit, just like real life. And then we're going to have the most fun one, which is going to be the financial management. So we can see right here, right, then this simulation, the player starts with $16,000 starting cash. And we can see it's burning down. So at the end of each week, they're going to get essentially kind of like a condensed profit and loss statement. They're going to see the results of that week. We can see on week one, we didn't make any money. Of course we didn't. It's week one of our business because we have payroll, we have rent, later in the game, you get taxes, distribution costs, subscription costs, right? Nice. And you can see we networked a little bit. And what do we get? Well, we got one user, right? It's like, it's not even enough to do anything with. So we want the players to learn again from experiencing this. We want it to be like a realistic simulation. And we want them, hopefully to be better prepared for real life because this will set the right expectations.
So as you can see from the demo, some really great opportunities for learning, just a fun and engaging platform. And the fact that it's kind of customizable, you can tailor it to your learning environment, or you can focus on a particular kind of business is really appealing. So some great things about the platform. Just based on feedback I've received from students and just my own experiences with the platform, I'll share a few things that I think will be improved in the future, or just things to be aware of if you're teaching with the platform. The first is within the application itself, it is not necessarily evident what is happening or what's going wrong as someone is working through the simulation. So it's really important that as an instructor, you're working alongside students to help them understand the key principles and foundational capabilities of entrepreneurship and the kinds of decisions that likely will lead an entrepreneur towards. And as they're experiencing feedback from the system, to give them context for why they may be having those particular experiences. So one of the frustrations that students tend to have with this is it's very difficult to win. And of course that is, really part of the paradigm is that, failing as an entrepreneur is more likely than success. And so, there is, a certain degree of that built into the system, but it's probably prudent to prepare your students that they are not necessarily going to have a successful run the first time or even the second time through. And that failure is part of the process, and that's one of the things that they will probably experience, and certainly better to experience it in an app when there's not a lot at stake, as opposed to when they've really invested their entire life savings or taken funding from those that would feel the loss if they didn't achieve their results. A second thing that I've heard somewhat mixed reviews on is that the app itself is a bit cartoony. Admittedly, the producers have designed it for high school and college age students. As a result, it seems a little bit cartoonish. And that can add to its charm, but in some ways that audience can kind of go either way with that type of experience. And certainly for adult learners, it take a little bit of time to just kind of shift into the cartoon world of Startup Wars. But again, the user experience and the learning content really solid, but just recognizing that that is some feedback that I've heard from those that have used it. From my perspective as an instructor, one of the things I really like is when a simulator and the producers of a simulator provide me with a lot of documentation that helps me to understand the particular learning principles that are really driving the decisions and the algorithm, and also what a lot of the levers are that are kind of controlling the outcomes. And that way, as I instruct and as I guide and as I facilitate learning around the principles that are highlighted here, and we can point to the results and say, this is why you likely experienced that. Here are some things you might do in the future to improve your results. Finally, from a reporting perspective and the kinds of things that I would use to either assess results or provide some kind of a grade are a bit limited. There are some really good tools in the simulator to give you an idea of how each person performed and some of the things that they that they did and the results. You can even go in and see every decision that they've made. But I would love to see expanded dashboards, different kinds of reporting and different kinds of views that really can point to the learning objectives and where some students are really excelling and catching on to things that could be an example for others, but also where folks are flagging a bit in their performance and maybe not understanding exactly why, being able to kind of have some alerts or some views that give a real clear picture for the ways to coach and facilitate that learning process for students as they go through the simulator. Again, these are some things that I think will be great enhancements to what is already a really solid simulator, and that is already a really great learning tool. Definitely going to be part of my courses related to entrepreneurship, and just a great way to teach the fundamentals of entrepreneurship in a scenario where you're not able to just step out and start a business and try things directly. So I hope this is helpful. I think it's something that really like to see more of these kinds of simulators, and we'll keep providing information about those as I experiment with them. So let's keep going.